Before the red carpets and Hollywood premieres, before the sold-out comedy tours and blockbuster films, these celebrities were living completely different lives. They were cleaning garbage trucks, doing hair on the deceased, working security night shifts, and sweeping floors. Some spent years grinding through multiple minimum wage jobs just to survive, while others had surprisingly stable careers they walked away from to chase their dreams. What's fascinating is how these early experiences shaped the people they would become. The work ethic, the humility, the hunger that would eventually propel them to stardom. Here are 15 surprising careers Black celebrities had before they became household names. Whoopi Goldberg did hair and makeup on dead bodies. Before Whoopi Goldberg became one of the most recognizable names in entertainment, she worked as a mortician preparing the deceased for their final goodbyes. Goldberg attended beauty school and became a licensed beautician, skills that would lead her to an unusual job opportunity. After seeing an advertisement in the newspaper for a funeral home makeup artist, she decided to give it a shot. The work involved doing hair and makeup on bodies before funerals, ensuring that the deceased looked their best for grieving families. In an interview with Oprah Winfrey, Goldberg reflected on the experience with her characteristic candidness, describing it as a rough but meaningful job. She explained that you have to genuinely love people to make them worthy of a great send-off. The position wasn't particularly spooky for Goldberg, who approached the work with professionalism and respect, though she did recall one memorable incident when her boss pranked her at the funeral home. This early career taught her about dignity, compassion, and the importance of honoring people even in death. It's a far cry from the comedy stages and film sets she would eventually dominate, but those lessons in humanity and empathy would stay with her throughout her groundbreaking career in Hollywood. Goldberg would go on to achieve EGOT status, becoming one of the few entertainers to win an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony Award. Jesse Williams spent 6 years as a high school teacher, long before Jesse Williams became Dr. Jackson Avery on Grey's Anatomy. He was standing in front of a classroom full of teenagers, trying to teach them about history and the world around them. Williams spent 6 years working as a high school teacher, following in the footsteps of both his parents who were educators. After graduating from Temple University with a degree in African American Studies and Film and Media Arts, Williams felt called to education. Teaching was in his blood, and he took the responsibility seriously, working with students during some of their most formative years. The experience instilled in him a deep sense of empathy and understanding that would prove invaluable in his later acting roles and activism. Williams has spoken about how those years in the classroom shaped his worldview and his approach to his career. Being in education meant connecting with young people from diverse backgrounds, understanding their struggles, and trying to help them see possibilities for their futures. The patience, communication skills, and ability to read a room that he developed as a teacher would translate perfectly to his work as an actor. When Williams finally transitioned to acting, he brought with him a social consciousness and commitment to advocacy that reflected his time as an educator. He's continued to partner with education initiatives throughout his career, never forgetting where he came from or the impact that good teachers can have on young lives. His journey from the classroom to primetime television is a testament to the value of diverse life experiences. Samuel L. Jackson worked overnight security at an apartment complex. Before Samuel L. Jackson became one of the highest-grossing actors of all time, he was pulling overnight security shifts at Manhattan Plaza, a subsidized apartment complex that was home to hundreds of struggling actors and artists. Jackson took the job to supplement his income while auditioning for acting roles, working through the night to pay his bills while pursuing his dream during the day. It was grueling work that required him to stay alert through the early morning hours, but it kept a roof over his head and allowed him to continue going to auditions. According to reports, one of his co-workers during this time was Giancarlo Esposito, who would later co-star with Jackson in the film Amos and Andrew. The two men were both struggling actors doing whatever it took to survive in New York City's competitive theater scene. Jackson's time as a security guard came during a difficult period in his life when he was also battling substance abuse issues. He worked this job and other odd positions while honing his craft in theater, slowly building the foundation for what would become one of the most remarkable careers in cinema history. The perseverance he showed during those lean years, working overnight security while fighting personal demons and still showing up to auditions, speaks to the determination that would later make him a force in Hollywood. Today, Jackson's films have grossed over $27 billion worldwide, but he's never forgotten the nights he spent as a security guard, doing what he had to do to survive. Taraji P. Henson worked 2 jobs while attending Howard University. Taraji P. Henson's journey to becoming an Emmy and Oscar-nominated actress was paved with long days and sleepless nights, juggling multiple jobs. While studying theater at Howard University, Henson worked not 1 but 2 demanding jobs to support herself and her young son. During the day, she worked as a secretary at the Pentagon, handling administrative tasks for one of the most powerful institutions in the country. At night and on weekends, she worked as a cruise ship entertainer, performing for passengers to earn extra money. The schedule was exhausting, but Henson was determined to get her education and provide for her family. After graduating from Howard in 1995, she moved to Los Angeles with just $700 in her bank account, ready to pursue acting professionally. For the next 2 years, Henson continued working an office job while going to auditions, facing rejection after rejection. She eventually landed her first professional acting role on the television show Smart Guy, which led to appearances on Sister, and other shows. Henson has spoken openly about those difficult early years, describing the financial struggles and the pressure of being a single mother trying to make it in an industry that wasn't designed to welcome women who looked like her. The work ethic she developed during those years, balancing the Pentagon, cruise ships, school, and motherhood, prepared her for the demanding career ahead. Today, she's known for powerhouse performances in films like Hustle and Flow and The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and she made history as the first black woman to win an Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actress in a drama series for her role on Empire. Terry Crews painted portraits as an NFL courtroom sketch artist. Terry Crews might be known for his larger-than-life presence on Brooklyn Nine-Nine and his impressive physique, but before his acting career took off, he had a remarkably different creative outlet. While playing in the NFL, Crews would paint portraits of his teammates for extra cash, using his artistic talents to supplement his football income. But his most fascinating pre-fame job came when he worked as a courtroom sketch artist in Flint, Michigan, covering one of the most high-profile murder cases in the city's history. In an interview with Esquire, Crews emphasized that these creative jobs weren't just hobbies or side projects, they were essential for survival. He explained that if you want to make money, you have to humble yourself and do what needs to be done. His father had encouraged him to pursue art from a young age, even helping him secure a job at a local news station where he created graphics for news broadcasts. Back before computer-generated imagery, when there was an accident or crime, Crews would actually paint the scenes, drawing chalk outlines for murders, creating images of car crashes, illustrating crime scenes with police lights. He did this work every night, developing his artistic skills while also building the work ethic that would later serve him in his entertainment career. Crews never lost his love for painting and continues to create art to this day. His willingness to use his artistic gifts to make ends meet, whether painting teammates or sketching courtroom scenes, shows the resourcefulness and dedication that would eventually make him a successful actor, host, and advocate. Nicki Minaj was fired from Red Lobster for attitude. Before Nicki Minaj became the queen of rap, she was working as a waitress at Red Lobster, trying to make ends meet in New York City. According to Minaj herself, the job didn't exactly go smoothly. In a candid interview with GQ, she recounted how her sharp wit and fierce personality, traits that would later define her music career, sometimes clashed with the service industry's demands. Her most memorable moment at Red Lobster came when a customer took her pen, an action that triggered a response that would get most people fired. Minaj chased the customer down and flipped them off, an act of defiance that promptly ended her employment at the seafood chain. This wasn't her only job before fame. Minaj worked several positions, each one reinforcing her drive to escape that life and break into the music industry. The frustration and anger she felt working these jobs, dealing with difficult customers, and feeling undervalued, fueled her ambition. She channeled all that energy into her music, developing the bold and unapologetic character that would make her one of the biggest names in hip-hop. Minaj has been open about how those early experiences shaped her, explaining that every difficult job only intensified her determination to succeed. The audacity she showed in chasing down a customer at Red Lobster is the same fearlessness she brought to an industry that wasn't always welcoming to female rappers. Today, she's sold millions of records, broken numerous records, and become a cultural icon, all because she refused to stay in a life that didn't fit her dreams. Chris Rock hauled newspapers and worked at Red Lobster. Before Chris Rock became one of the most influential comedians of his generation, he was just a kid from Brooklyn trying to figure out his path. Rock dropped out of high school in 10th grade with a plan that seemed practical at the time: keep working at Red Lobster, get his truck driver's license, and drive a truck like his father did. In an interview on CBS Sunday Morning, Rock admitted that if someone had offered him a job paying $10 or $12 an hour back then, he might have never told another joke in his life. Rock worked several minimum wage jobs, including stints at Red Lobster, McDonald's, and a discount store called Odd Lots. He also spent time hauling newspapers on his father's truck, earning money while learning the value of hard work. According to Rolling Stone, these jobs taught him discipline, but also showed him that he wanted something more from life. The turning point came when Rock tried his hand at stand-up comedy at the Comic Strip Comedy Club in New York City. After winning over the audience at an open mic night in 1985, the club's manager offered him a regular spot. Rock even worked at the Comic Strip Live for a brief period, cleaning tables in exchange for extra stage time to hone his craft. These early years of grinding, working fast food during the day, and performing comedy at night built the work ethic that would define his career. Rock went on to become a Saturday Night Live cast member, star in HBO comedy specials, and establish himself as one of the sharpest social commentators in comedy. But he's never forgotten those days of flipping burgers and hauling papers, experiences that kept him grounded. Steve Harvey tried everything from boxing to carpet cleaning. Steve Harvey's path to becoming one of America's most successful entertainers was anything but straightforward. Before finding his calling in comedy, Harvey worked an astonishing array of jobs, each one teaching him something new while bringing him no closer to fulfillment. He tried his hand at boxing, hoping to make it as a professional fighter. He worked on an assembly line as an auto worker, standing for hours in a factory. He sold insurance, going door to door, trying to convince people to buy policies. He cleaned carpets, getting down on his hands and knees in strangers' homes. He even worked as a mailman, delivering letters through Cleveland's neighborhoods. Harvey has been open about the fact that none of these jobs felt like his true calling. He was searching for something that would make him feel alive. In 1985, while working as an insurance salesman, Harvey won an amateur night contest at a local comedy club. The response from the audience was electric, and something clicked inside him. He decided then and there to focus on stand-up comedy, even though it meant leaving behind the financial security of his sales job. What followed were 3 years of homelessness, sleeping in his 1976 Ford, when gigs didn't provide hotel rooms, and showering at gas stations or pool facilities. It was a brutal period, but Harvey's determination never wavered. He spent those years honing his observational humor, drawing from his own life experiences, including all those odd jobs, to create comedy that resonated with audiences. Today, Harvey hosts Family Feud, runs a successful morning radio show, has written best-selling books, and built a media empire. But he's never forgotten the carpet cleaning, the boxing, the mail routes, all the detours that eventually led him exactly where he needed to be. Denzel Washington was a garbage collector and YMCA camp counselor. Before Denzel Washington became one of the most respected actors in Hollywood, he was picking up trash and working with kids at summer camp. Washington has spoken about working as a garbage collector in his early years, a job that required him to start before dawn and work alongside seasoned sanitation workers. Speaking on Jimmy Kimmel Live, Washington recalled working with an old Italian man who had Popeye arms and would sing while they worked. The job could last 8 hours, but if they hustled and hit it hard, they could finish in about 3 hours. It was physical, demanding work that taught Washington about effort and efficiency. Before his acting career took off, Washington also worked as a camp counselor for the YMCA in Lakeville, Connecticut, between his college years. At Fordham University, Washington had initially planned to become a journalist, then switched to pre-med, and eventually to pre-law before finally catching the acting bug through student drama productions. The camp counselor position allowed him to work with young people during the summers, developing leadership and communication skills that would serve him throughout his career. These early jobs instilled in Washington the work ethic and humility that have defined his nearly 45-year career in film and theater. He's won 2 Academy Awards, 3 Golden Globes, and countless other accolades. But Washington has never forgotten his roots or the value of hard work. Last December, he was baptized and officially received his minister's license, adding yet another dimension to his life of service. Whether picking up garbage, counseling kids at camp, or delivering powerful performances on screen, Washington has always approached his work with dedication and integrity. Tiffany Haddish made people laugh while working for Alaska Airlines. Before Tiffany Haddish became one of comedy's brightest stars, she was making people laugh in a very different setting, as a customer service agent for Alaska Airlines. Haddish's job supported her while she pursued comedy on the weekends, allowing her to keep her dreams alive while paying the bills. According to interviews, she used her time with customers at the airline as a practice ground for her comedic timing, testing out jokes and honing her ability to read people and make them smile. She would take regular flight announcements and turn them into performances, trying to inject energy and excitement into mundane airport moments. When there was a delayed flight to Mexico and passengers were frustrated and upset, Haddish would wait for the boarding call and then yell with enthusiasm, "It's time to go to Mexico!" getting the whole boarding area excited and cheering. She explained that she would get written up for making these kinds of announcements because airline employees aren't supposed to give announcements that incite the boarding area, but Haddish couldn't help herself. She saw an opportunity to bring joy to people who were having a bad day, and she took it. This approach, finding ways to make people laugh even in difficult or frustrating situations, became the foundation of her comedy career. Haddish used every customer interaction as a chance to practice her craft, developing the infectious energy and genuine warmth that would make her a breakout star. Her persistence paid off in spectacular fashion with her role in Girls Trip, which catapulted her to fame. But those years at Alaska Airlines, making frustrated travelers smile and practicing her comedy timing between flights, were essential preparation for the career that followed. Viola Davis worked in factories as a telemarketer and handed out flyers. Viola Davis's journey from poverty to becoming an EGOT winner, someone who has won an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony, was paved with countless hours of unglamorous work. After graduating from Rhode Island College with a theater degree, Davis moved to New York City to pursue her acting dreams. While studying at the prestigious Circle in the Square Theater School, she needed money to survive, so she took whatever work she could find. Davis worked in factories, standing for hours on production lines, doing repetitive tasks. She worked as a telemarketer, making cold calls and facing rejection after rejection over the phone. She even spent time in Times Square handing out flyers for a friend's play, trying to convince passing strangers to attend a show while managing her own career struggles. These jobs barely kept her fed. Davis has spoken about genuinely not knowing where her next meal would come from during this period. Despite holding a theater degree and training at respected institutions, she found herself working multiple jobs and still struggling to survive in New York City's expensive environment. The discrimination she faced as a dark-skinned black woman made finding acting work even more difficult, as casting directors often looked for lighter-skinned actresses or women who were more racially ambiguous. After that difficult summer in New York, Davis finally landed her first professional acting job with Trinity Repertory Company, a regional theater in Rhode Island. But those months of factory work, telemarketing, and handing out flyers taught her resilience and humility. Today, Davis is celebrated as one of the greatest actresses of her generation, with an Oscar, Emmy, and 2 Tony Awards. She's never forgotten those hungry days in New York, and she uses her platform to advocate for diversity and opportunity in the entertainment industry. Beyoncé swept hair at her mother's Houston salon. Before Beyoncé Knowles became a global pop sensation and cultural icon, she was just a young girl sweeping up hair at her mother Tina Knowles' salon in Houston, Texas. Tina owned and operated a successful salon, and Beyoncé would help out, earning a little money while learning the value of hard work from an early age. Sweeping hair might seem like a small, insignificant task, but it taught young Beyoncé about responsibility, customer service, and the dedication required to run a business. She watched her mother interact with clients, manage employees, and build relationships, lessons that would prove invaluable when she later built her own entertainment empire. Even as Beyoncé's talent became obvious and she started performing with Destiny's Child, her parents made sure she understood that success required more than just talent. It demanded discipline, respect for others, and a strong work ethic. Those days in the salon, sweeping hair and observing her mother's professionalism, planted seeds that would influence how Beyoncé approached her career. She learned that every job matters, every person deserves respect, and success comes from consistent effort. Today, Beyoncé is one of the most successful entertainers in history, with countless awards, record-breaking albums, and a devoted global fan base. She's built a business empire that extends far beyond music, including fashion lines and production companies. But before all the stadium tours and Grammy wins, there was a young girl with a broom in her mother's salon, learning lessons that would last a lifetime. That foundation of humility and hard work has kept her grounded through decades of unprecedented fame. Lucy Liu juggled 3 jobs while taking acting classes. Lucy Liu's path to becoming one of Charlie's Angels required an extraordinary level of dedication and sacrifice. While pursuing her acting dreams in New York City, Liu worked 7 days a week, balancing 3 different jobs simultaneously. During the weekdays, she worked as a secretary, handling administrative tasks and office duties. On weekends during the day, she taught aerobics classes, leading fitness sessions to help people stay in shape. And in the evenings, she worked as a hostess at Tennessee Mountain, a restaurant in Soho, greeting customers and managing the dining room. In an interview with the Seattle Times in 2008, Liu explained her reasoning for this punishing schedule. She knew that pursuing acting wouldn't be lucrative right away, so she needed to build up savings while also paying for acting classes and headshots. Every dollar she earned from those 3 jobs went toward keeping herself afloat and investing in her future career. The physical and mental exhaustion of working every single day without a break would have broken most people. But Liu remained focused on her goal. Her dedication to hustling through multiple low-paying jobs showed her resilience and readiness for the demanding nature of Hollywood. This period of her life taught her about time management, perseverance, and the kind of sacrifice required to make it in an industry where success is never guaranteed. Lou eventually broke through with roles on Ally McBeal, and then as one of the stars of Charlie's Angels, proving that her years of grinding had paid off. Today, she's had a successful career in both film and television, including starring in Elementary. But she's never forgotten those 7-day work weeks, juggling secretarial work, aerobics classes, and restaurant shifts, all in service of a dream that must have felt impossibly far away. Kanye West worked at the Gap as a teenager. Before Kanye West became one of the most influential and controversial figures in music and fashion, he was a teenager working as a sales associate at Gap. In a 2015 interview with Paper Magazine, West reflected on the irony of that early job, noting how it seemed to foreshadow his career path. He explained that it was funny he worked at the Gap in high school because in the past 15 years, it seems like that's where he stood in his creative path, to be the gap, the bridge between different worlds and styles. That teenage job gave West first-hand experience in retail and fashion, observing what people bought, how they shopped, and what they responded to. He watched customers, learned about merchandising, and absorbed lessons about branding that would later influence his approach to his own fashion ventures. Years later, when West launched his Yeezy brand and revolutionized sneaker culture, those early observations from his Gap days were part of his foundation. West has always been vocal about his humble beginnings, using them as motivation and inspiration in his music and public persona. Working at the Gap meant dealing with customers, taking orders, and being part of a system, experiences that shaped his later desire to create his own path and establish his own rules. The job taught him about the fashion industry from the ground level, understanding how clothes moved from manufacturers to stores to customers. Today, West's Yeezy brand is worth billions, and his influence on music and fashion is undeniable, whatever controversies may surround him. But before the sold-out sneaker drops and headline-making moments, there was a kid in a Gap store in Chicago, folding clothes and dreaming of something bigger, learning lessons that would eventually help him bridge the gap between hip-hop and high fashion. Ava DuVernay worked as a Hollywood publicist before directing. Ava DuVernay's journey to becoming an acclaimed director and the first black woman nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Director wasn't a straight path from film school to Hollywood success. For years, DuVernay worked as a publicist in Hollywood, representing films and helping to craft narratives around movies made by other people. The work was stable and respectable, giving her an inside look at how the entertainment industry operated, but something was missing. As she spent more time around movie sets and cameras, an interest in filmmaking began to bubble up inside her until she finally decided to take the leap and try directing herself. DuVernay started with small independent films, learning the craft while still working in publicity to pay her bills. Her breakthrough came when she won the Best Director prize at the Sundance Film Festival for her film Middle of Nowhere, an achievement that gave her the confidence and credibility to finally quit her publicist job and focus full-time on filmmaking. The years she spent in publicity weren't wasted. They taught her how to tell stories, how to market films, how to navigate Hollywood's complex business landscape, and how to advocate for projects she believed in. Those skills proved invaluable when she began directing, especially as a black woman entering a field that had historically excluded people who looked like her. DuVernay went on to direct Selma, the Martin Luther King Jr. biopic that earned critical acclaim and an Oscar nomination for Best Picture. She later created the powerful documentary 13th and the acclaimed series When They See Us. Today, she's one of the most respected directors in the industry, known for telling important stories with artistry and power. But before all that, she was a publicist watching other people make movies, slowly building the courage to claim her own seat at the table.